Good afternoon, Bradenton, Kiwanis. Thank you so much for being with us today. We have a pretty packed agenda, so we're going to get started a little bit early. So I'd like to call up Ken Christie to come do our invocation.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for all the gifts you've bestowed upon all of us. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to serve. We thank you for the opportunity to improve the lives of children all over our area. Lord, we ask you to bless this food to our bodies and us to your service. Amen.
Join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Thank you. You be seated. We're going to be moving along with the program today because we've got a pretty packed agenda. So I'd like to go ahead and call up Judge Nicholas to give us an update on Key Leader and have a short video.
Thanks, Andy. So I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but we have Andy's parents in the house. Should we welcome Andy's parents? We love this guy. Not crazy about the jacket, but we love the guy. Hey, good afternoon. So Key Leader, March 8th through 10th. I've promoted it a lot. It's an amazing weekend to build strong leaders, to bring kids together. If you know any kid that might be eager to participate, it's Friday through Sunday out at Camp Flying Eagle. It really is a unique experience for 8th grade to 11th graders. Team building exercises and leadership training build a whole new generation of caring, empathetic leaders that can fix the things that we don't seem to be able to fix very well. Anyway, I got a video. Who better than to promote it than the kids from last year? So this is the testimonial.
My name is Aquarius Rice, and I'm going to talk about this weekend. It was a great weekend. The people here have new friends, and we learned about respect a lot. And if I had a decision to bring anybody, it would be my other family members.
Hi, I'm Brianna, and this weekend was amazing. I had so much fun and made so many friends, and I encourage everybody to come down here and join us.
My name is Christian Diaz. This was a fantastic weekend. You get to make a lot of friends, and next time I do come, I want to invite my cousin.
I'm Lana. I had a great time. Usually I'm antisocial, but I feel like everyone here really did encourage me to open up a bit more, and it was really fun being more active and doing activities.
Thank you, Judge Nicholas. I'd like to call up Sharon Barnhorst on a membership update.
Good afternoon, Bradenton Kiwanis. I would like all the members of the membership committee to stand up because we're going to do our January membership update. You know who you are. Don't make me call your names out. Thank you, thank you. And that's just part of them. I just wanted to let you know we're doing a lot of community outreach, thanks to Ken, the county fair, the Bradenton Kiwanis and Kiwanis names in general. Our brand was out there. This weekend, Lakewood Ranch Showcase. Kristen and Tall have put together an opportunity for us to be out at the farmer's market, spreading the good word about Bradenton Kiwanis. I just wanted to say thank you, and how you guys can help me is, guess what? What's on your table? Free lunch cards. I know you know people that would make amazing Bradenton Kiwanis members. Keep these in your wallet. Have them on you. When you see the right person, hand them a card and say, welcome, and join us any Tuesday at Bradenton Kiwanis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wanted to read a couple of letters. We have some things come through from our angel tree. And so there was a note that we received by the Salvation Army that I just wanted to read the note from the parent. I wasn't sure my kids were going to have anything under the tree this year due to living paycheck to paycheck with prices of everything rising. I was just so overwhelmed with joy when I picked them up, and I wanted to share how blessed I am because of this program and the wonderful donors. I'm beyond grateful for the help I received and wanted to let the donors know how much a difference it has made to my family. Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. I really can't thank you enough. My 6-year-old and my 12-year-old both still believe in Santa because of you. It would have broken my heart if I couldn't have got anything. You are the true angels. So just want to thank you very much for everybody that participated in that. And so that was really great. Wanted to also remind the tonight, super exciting. It's one of the biggest events we're going to have in Bradenton all so far this year. The Gilbert Smith book signing, Volume 2. Volume 2, Champions for Children. If you've ever been president of the Kiwanis Club, will you please stand up? If you've ever been president, please stand up. All right. So all these individuals tonight, they're in the book. And make sure you get their signature on their page. So make sure they're coming in, signing that page, you get their autograph, because who knows, 100 years from now, that might be worth something. So, thank you very much. Now, on the community service, I wanted to call Ken Christie up to talk about the last week's fair. As a member of the director of the fair board, the fair does not happen without the volunteer services that we have been receiving from the Lions Club. So having the Kiwanis step up and provide this kind of leadership is going to be a tremendous partnership, not just this year, but from years to come. And every year it's going to get big and better. And so the advertisement and the publicity that we can have jointly with our club and with the fair is just tremendous. And Ken, I wanted to thank you for that.
My pleasure. If you served in the fair in any capacity, please stand up. Thank you very much. We had 1,400 hours of volunteer service. That's a big number. From 113 different volunteers. That's also a big number. The Key Club, Chad Cohen, our webmaster for the entire Florida district, was amazing. He called. He was on the phone constantly, and the Key Clubbers all showed up. They were terrific. There's a few people here that I call them baconators because they saved my bacon. One is taking a picture right over there. He was the first one. Mac, thank you very much. Mac, I had a spreadsheet, and it was at the start of the fair. As the fair went on, it got easier. There were more and more volunteers, which I was grateful for. But Mac, one of the very first days, there was nobody. It was like, how am I going to be here and how am I going to be here? Mac stayed an extra 9 hours. Yeah, it's amazing. Then there's Ray. Ray twice saved my bacon. Then Sharon and Lou and Barb, thank you so much. It all came together. A lot of prayer, a lot of A lot of good people stepped up to the plate, and I am very, very, very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now, since we're kind of going out of order, I'd like to call Rita up to welcome our guests.
Good afternoon, everyone. Guests, when I call your name, please stand so we can give you a warm Kiwanis welcome. First guest is Tom Fox from Kalamazoo. We have Kurt Landerfield, guest of John Mullis. Virgil Mills, guest of at Cleveland. Danny and Janice Miner, our president's parents. Austin Martinez, guest of Rob Rich. And finally, Dr. Monica Ryder, guest of Dr. Melvin Price. Thank you all for attending today and welcome.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
All right, one more. We have next week. Again, we're not meeting in here. We'll be at Tom Bennett Park because of this man right here. Come on, Neil. The floor is yours, buddy.
We're not meeting there just because of me, but I'll take full credit for that. All right, so what I haven't gotten to you yet is we are going to have 3 food trucks there. We would like you to pre-order if you are going or if you have guests that are going. I'm going to get an email to Mac here today. He's already jumping. Go ahead.
There are sign-up sheets on each table for those of you who are more analog than digital.
Okay, so.
Name down and the name of the guest on each sheet of paper, then I'll get them put into the other thing.
Okay, so I had asked for limited menus from them so that they could give us, just a couple choices each that would help them as well as us get this all taken care of. Like I said, I'll get this list to Mac this afternoon, but there'll be 3 food trucks. It is the Clean Plate Club, SRQ, In a Pickle, the Brunchy Bunch will be there, and then we'll also have a dessert truck. So you'll be, I do have some side menus. We'll start with those, and you can sign up that way. Please, if you have guests coming, please get them to sign up and try and pre-order. We want them to be able to get as many of the orders there as possible. We've told them we're going to eat between 11:30 and 12:30. So they kind of have an hour to get there, but we want to give you as much time to socialize and eat as you can. So next week, again, 11 o'clock is the groundbreaking. We have 2 distinguished speakers from our club. Jane will be going, and I will be speaking as well, so we will have that. And then we'll have the shovels in the ground, and then we can continue to celebrate with our program with Easter seals that day as well. So again, be there by 11 o'clock for the 11 o'clock ceremony that'll be there with groundbreaking. Jane, be prepared for interviews. I know you'll get them. I'll probably get them as well. So food trucks will be on site, and let's have a great time as we continue to celebrate our 100th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil. So also, I received some very exciting news right before coming up here to the stage. That we were able to finally push over the limit of the Dave Bassett Challenge with one significant gift from Lemoyne Johnson. So. So thank you very much. So that is a check because our balance before today was $9,287. So Lemoyne came in with $712.26 to hit that 10 grand number. So thank you so much. All right. So We've had a lot of an activity today. I put a lot on you, but we have a great program today. So I want to call Judge Smith up to introduce our speaker. And again, thank you so much for coming today.
Well, as Janine has reminded me, just about everybody in this room is in the book. So you can actually be exchanging each other's books and signing them for a long time. And I'm sure they'll really be worth a lot of money in 100 years. We're really honored today to have Roger Handberg as our speaker today. We were talking at our table, and I think this is the first time in history at Bradenton and Kiwanis we've had the U.S. Attorney from the Middle District of Florida. His position is such an important position in the Department of Justice, and he covers a large geographic area that he'll explain to you. But Roger's not a stranger to this community, and in fact works with local law enforcement that he's going to talk to you about to enforce the laws and help protect all of us. He's a graduate of the University of North Carolina and Harvard Law School. He practiced with the Florida Attorney General's Office and the firm of King and Spalding before joining the U.S. Attorney's Office. He served in the interim capacity in December 2021, and then in September 2022, the President of the United States nominated him for the position, and he was confirmed by the United States Senate in December 2022. He has lots to share with us about his performance and how it affects all of us. We will make sure that he is in our next book. So please join me in welcoming Roger as a speaker today.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you very much, Judge, for that very warm welcome. Although I must admit that I feel a little misled because you already told me I was in the book, and I was actually coincided my appearance tonight to get a copy of the book, which you told me I was in. So, but no, thank you very much for having me here today with this wonderful organization. And I want to thank the mayor and our chief of police for their hospitality this morning. I had a chance to catch up with both of them, and then obviously I've seen the sheriff many times, and we've been partners for a long time, and I really appreciate everyone being here today. So I can tell you a little bit about who I am, my office, and some of the work we do. So as you heard in my introduction, I'm something called the United States Attorney. I'm the United States Attorney for the Middle District of Florida. So what is the United States Attorney? Well, in that position, I have the privilege of serving as the chief federal law enforcement officer for 35 counties in the state of Florida. There are 94 United States Attorney's offices in the country. My office is the second largest in the country by population. We serve over 13 million people. The only office that's bigger than ours is the Central District of California, which covers Los Angeles. We have 5 offices. We have an office in Fort Myers. We have our main office in Tampa. We go over to Orlando, up to Ocala, and then up to Jacksonville. So we kind of cut across the state in almost a sort of diagonal sort of fashion. You probably heard the phrase before, federal prosecutors. So the lawyers in my office, that's what they are. They're federal prosecutors. A lot of times when people think of federal prosecutors, they think of prosecutors who live and work up in D.C., and we certainly have those lawyers with the United States Department of Justice who live there, but we are also part of the United States Department of Justice, and we're the prosecutors who live and work in the communities that we serve. So each of the 5 offices that I have, that's where the prosecutors live. They live and work in those communities. We're a very productive office, and I'm very proud of the work that our folks do. Over the past year, the federal prosecutors in my office, we've increased our number of indictments by 29%. And that reflects double-digit increases in each of our 5 offices and dramatic increases in many of our priority areas. Our violent crime cases are up 39%. Narcotics cases, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our fentanyl work, those are up 32%. Child exploitation cases are up over 40%. These are significant cases that get prosecuted in federal court. Last year, the amount of restitution ordered in our white-collar cases exceeded over $200 million. Our violent crime and narcotics cases resulted in the prosecution of over 250 defendants and the seizure of over 400 firearms last fiscal year. And our narcotics cases last year resulted in the seizure of over $1 billion, and that's billion with a B, in narcotics. We also have a very active civil and asset recovery division. One of the things my office does is we try to get assets recovered so we can return those funds to the victims whose money has been taken from them wrongfully. And so over the past 2 fiscal years, our asset recovery and civil divisions have recovered over $200 million. We don't do any of that alone, not by any stretch of the imagination. To the contrary, we really are grateful for the opportunity we have to work with the law enforcement agencies, who are the real stars of those cases. Last year, my office prosecuted cases with over 200 different law enforcement agencies. That included 72 police departments, 43 sheriff's offices, 22 state agencies, 52 federal agencies, and 42 federal international agencies. And it's a real privilege for us to work with each and every one of them. And 2 of the partners we work with a lot are here today. We have our chief of police for Bradenton, and we have our sheriff in Manatee County. And I'm a little concerned that they're both kind of in different parts of the room at this point. I don't know what that means. And I was a little concerned where I was going to sit. You know, I wanted to sit kind of equidistant between them. Because they're both such outstanding partners. And a lot of people don't know that most of the cases we prosecute in federal criminal court, we do with our local state partners working in conjunction with our federal partners. And it's been that way the entire 21 years I've been with the office. So I have the privilege of being a career prosecutor. You heard a little bit about my background. But my cases, most of my cases I've done over the course of my career have been with the police departments and been with sheriff's offices working in conjunction with our federal partners. And one of the things I like to do, you hear I cover a wide area, I like to get out to the community, because one of the messages I want people to know is you should be proud of the sheriff's office you have, you should be proud of the police department you have, you should be proud of the work that they do, because their work holds up to the very highest level of proof that we have in our judicial system, which is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And the only reason their cases hold up is because they have the quality investigators and they do quality investigations. And it's been like that for some time. And so one of the things I did before coming here is I just looked at some of the press releases that we've issued just over the past couple years for both of these agencies, just so you can see some of the quality of work that they do. Tampa man sentenced to life imprisonment for double murder, robbery, and conspiracy. Bradenton man sentenced to more than 17 years for distributing cocaine. Federal jury finds Palmetto man guilty of armed robbery, possessing a firearm as a convicted felon, contempt, and extortion. That's about every crime you probably can commit. Fentanyl dealer sentenced to over 20 years in prison for conspiracy. Postal carrier indicted for cocaine distribution, and so on and so on. I mean, you really should be proud of the work they do and how well, not only they work with my office, but how well they work together and how well they work. Because a lot of people watch television, and on television you sometimes get the perception that, there's a lot of conflict. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but that doesn't happen in this community. And that's because leadership starts at the top. It starts with the chief and it starts with the sheriff. And they've really set the tone that we're here to do, the work of the people of this district. And we do that also in conjunction with my colleague and my friend Ed Brodsky with the State Attorney's Office. We work very closely with the State Attorney's Office. It's not competitive. Like I said, you might see on television where people are arguing about cases. Frankly, there's enough cases for all of us to do. In the State Attorney's Office, we have really excellent partners there, and I really am grateful for the relationship that we have with them. So why am I telling you all about this? Why am I telling you a little bit about my office in that way? Well, first, I want you to know that we've got a lot of different enforcement priorities that we do. I'm going to talk about just one or two of them today, but I want you to know there's a wide breadth of things that we do for the people of the United States, both in criminal court and in civil court, and as far as asset recovery. You know, and another thing I want to emphasize is, you know, we do it for the people of this community. So what my job is as a United States Attorney, so like I said, I'm a career prosecutor. I'm born and raised in the Orlando area. My job is to find the priorities of the people of this community and try to direct the resources we have to do the work that you all, you know, need and want us to do. And so a lot of times that's violent crime. A lot of times that's drug trafficking. A lot of times that's child exploitation cases, real quality of life issues, just to make sure that this community continues to be the wonderful community that it is. And so that's the spirit in which we do it. So we're the federal prosecutors who live and work in this community, and we do these cases to serve the people. And when I say serve the people, I mean serve you. And when I say serve you, I say serve you as your United States Attorney. So let me talk about one of the priorities that we have. And I'll apologize in advance because, you know, as a federal prosecutor, we don't have a lot, like, fun topics we get to talk about. You know, I'm sure you have some fun speakers who have fun things to talk about. You know, I don't get a lot of those. I get opportunities to talk about work that's important work. And I want to talk to you about what I think is probably the most significant drug threat that this country has ever faced, and that's fentanyl. And I know a lot of you have heard about fentanyl. What I'd like to do is I'd like to just to kind of put some of the pieces together so you can at least understand from my perspective why, as United States Attorney, I have picked fentanyl as being one of the very top priorities of not only my office here in Manatee County and Bradenton, but across the entire district. So what is fentanyl? So fentanyl is something we call a synthetic opioid. It's a painkiller that helps with chronic pain. You may have heard before about different schedules of drugs. So in the United States, what the Drug Enforcement Administration does, one of the things they do is they schedule drugs, and there's schedules from 1 to 5. And the schedules, they put the substances there based on the potential for abuse, whether there's an accepted medical use for it, and the likelihood of causing dependence. So fentanyl is second from the top, so it's a Schedule II drug. And so what does that mean? It means it is a drug that can be prescribed by a medical professional, and it's used a lot of times in cancer treatment in hospitals. So it is a drug that is legitimately distributed. And it's a drug that has a high potential for abuse. And you've probably heard of it, though, because of the number of overdoses that it causes and has caused in Florida. But let me give you a little bit of context to be able to understand what I'm talking about when I say that it's a significant drug threat. So every year, and one of the many great things about Florida is we have open records. And so one of the things the Florida medical examiners do every year is they issue a report. And in that report, they talk about the number of deaths caused, overdose deaths caused by different drugs. The report's usually issued, you know, around December of each year. And if you go back to the year 2000 and you look to see what the Florida medical examiners said was causing deaths as far as opioids, and there's different types of opioids. Heroin's an opioid. You might have heard of pills like OxyContin, oxycodone. Those are opioids. If you go back to the year 2000, there were about 360 overdose deaths in the state of Florida. 208 were heroin, 152 were oxycodone. And what happened after that was it was pill mills. And you probably have heard of pill mills. You might remember from the 2000s, you know, the sort of growth of pill mills. Florida was at one point called the OxyContin Express. We had people from across the United States who would come to Florida to go to unscrupulous doctors and pharmacists to get prescriptions for opioid pills, for OxyContin, oxycodone, and things like that. And a pill mill is basically where instead of providing legitimate medical treatment to someone and prescribing them a drug that they need for their medical need, you're really prescribing it to someone who's going to abuse the drug or who's going to sell the drug to others who are not looking for medical treatment but are looking you know, to abuse it. And what happened is the number of overdose deaths caused by opioid pills increased. From 2001 to 2010, it went to over 2,000. So we went from about 360 deaths caused by opioids to over 2,000 by 2010. Now, in response to that, there were a number of different things that law enforcement and public officials did. So on the law enforcement side, there were a number of enforcement actions my office took. State attorneys, we got an excellent office of statewide prosecution. They prosecuted cases. Our sheriff's offices, police departments, federal partners, Florida Department of Law Enforcement did a number of operations to criminally prosecute the doctors who would prescribe these prescriptions outside the ordinary course of medical practice, and the pharmacists who would dispense them. The state also created something called the Prescription Drug Monitoring Program, the PDNP. There was a period of time where if you were a doctor or pharmacist, you really didn't have any visibility into whether your patient or the person who was in front of you had another prescription. And this database would give them that ability to see that, to see if they were actually someone who was just getting drugs for further distribution as opposed to treatment. The PDNP also allowed, under certain circumstances, for law enforcement to have access to some of that information. So the result of a lot of that great work and other work on the treatment and prevention side, I mean, there were a lot of individuals who really were focused on this, was the number of opioid pill deaths started to go down. So it went down about 38% between 2010 and 2012. And since then, what has happened is it's been replaced by fentanyl. So if you go back to 2010, to that Florida Medical Examiner's report I talked about, back then the number of overdose deaths caused by fentanyl was about 114. Since then, the number of deaths has increased almost 5,000%, with rather dramatic increases in many of the years. You know, in their report, the Florida Medical Examiners, they have a color-coded map that talk about the highest concentrations of opioid deaths and fentanyl deaths. I said before I cover 35 counties. If you go to the 2021 report, which is the one that's the most recent report that they have, 18 of the 35 counties I serve are in the very highest category, and that means more than 25 deaths per 100,000 in population. And Manatee County is one of those counties that's in the highest category. Florida is not alone in experiencing an increase in fentanyl overdose deaths. Between 2019 and 2021, fatal overdoses across the United States increased approximately 94%. An estimated 196 Americans die every day from fentanyl. It's now the leading cause of death for Americans age 18 to 44. And I expect that there's people in this room who've known people who have been impacted by this, who have died or know someone who's died. This is a problem with international dimensions. So one of the things I got a chance to do last year was I participated in a press conference related to some of the cases we did. And so one of the things the department has tried to do is to let people know about what we call the global fentanyl supply chain and how it works. And as described in those press conferences that happened last year and press releases, this is how it often works. I mentioned before, fentanyl is synthetic, which means it is manufactured. So it's not like a drug that is grown. It is something that is made from chemicals. We call those chemicals fentanyl precursor chemicals. And they are made in, does anyone have a guess where they're made primarily? China. And a lot of times those drugs end up with cartels in Mexico, which then use those precursor chemicals to make fentanyl, which is brought into the United States. There's a couple factors that have really increased fentanyl's impact on the opioid epidemic. First, it's lethal in very small doses. If you have a pen, you can fit a lethal dose of fentanyl on the tip of a pen. That's how little fentanyl is required to be a potentially lethal dose. The second thing is it's mixed with about everything. So one of the things the Drug Enforcement Administration will do is they'll issue notices. So back in 2015, they did a nationwide alert to let people know about what they were seeing with fentanyl, not just in Florida, but across the country as a problem. And at that point, they noted it was commonly laced in heroin. So lace just means it gets mixed. And there's a lot of different reasons. I often get the question, why do they mix things in these different drugs? Well, there's a lot of different reasons to potentially do it. One reason is you know, what's better than 1 kilo of heroin? 2 kilos of heroin. And if you've got something that's that potent, you can maybe break it up and mix in something that's potent to keep the level of potency of the drug high, but allows you to split the drug up where you can actually have more drug that you can sell. 2018, DEA reported seizures of cocaine, methamphetamine, and counterfeit pharmaceutical pills that had been laced with fentanyl. And one of the things that DEA does is they look at these counterfeit pharmaceutical pills that they seize and they measure them to see how many have potentially lethal doses. Well, back in 2021, about 4 out of 10 had a potentially lethal dose. 2022, it got to be 6 out of 10. And then last year, it's now 7 out of 10. But let me be very clear when I'm talking about counterfeit pharmaceutical pills. I'm not talking about if you go to your doctor and they write a prescription for you and you go to a pharmacist and get it filled, you are fine. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about are people have the ability to purchase pill presses where they can take fentanyl and other things and they can make them look like other types of pills that someone might want to purchase. And so if you heard of the One Pill Can Kill campaign, that's in part what DEA is trying to do, is get that word out there that those pills that are bought in the black market, 7 out of 10 have a potentially lethal dose. And a final factor that's really contributed is a lot of people don't know what they're taking is fentanyl. So if you think you're taking cocaine, you might take what you think is the amount of cocaine you would normally take. But if you take that amount of cocaine and it's not cocaine and it's fentanyl, it's a fatal choice. And so I had a chance to do a press conference in Polk County recently about 3.5 kilo seizure, which is enough fentanyl to kill everyone in Polk County, I think 2 times over. And one of the things the sheriff and I there talked about was, the reason why we're doing these cases, because these choices that people make, they're not informed choices. If you're taking these drugs, these are terribly dangerous drugs, and they're unforgiving. If you take a pill that has a potentially fatal dose, it does not care who you are. It does not care if that was your first time, if that was your 1,000th time. It just does not care. And we've just seen it happen so many times that anything we can do to get the word out there. So because of the impact that fentanyl has had in this community and every community that I serve, one of the things I get to do as United States Attorney is I get to make choices. I make choices about what we're going to work on. And so I've chosen to work on this and to make it one of the very top priorities that we do. So one of the types of cases we did last year was we have charged some of the Chinese individuals and companies that sell the precursor chemicals. So we've done those indictments. We've also done a number of traditional drug trafficking cases involving defendants who distribute the drugs here, and we try to deal with the entire supply chain. And we work with any agency who's interested in those cases. And I put additional resources in those cases. And over the past year, we've now doubled the number of fentanyl prosecutions that my office has done. And I will tell you that one of the leaders in that, and has been for some time, are the sheriff's office and the police department. So there was an operation they did back in 2016 and 2017, and fentanyl was bad then, but back then I think the number of people who had died that year was maybe 1,500 to 2,000. Now it's over 5,000. And they were leaders. They were leaders in doing those cases, and because of their proactive investigations and prosecutions, they were able to really, keep those cases down. Because that's one of the terrible things we see. So I talked before, there were 360 deaths. In 2021, which is the year we have the most recent data, 5,791. So you just think about just the dramatic increase in the number of people who are being killed. But you have a sheriff's office and a police department who've been on the leading edge because, that operation is something that's been briefed at the highest levels of the Justice Department about as an effective way, to deal with that. And I can assure you that we're going to continue to partner on those cases. Because these cases, we're seeing very large seizures. 13 million people in my district. My office has now seized over the past 2 years enough fentanyl to kill everyone who lives in this district 4 times over. Another type of case we do, you might hear of like an overdose case, an overdose prosecution. A lot of times, and the state attorney's office has the ability, and they do these cases as well. They often will do them as murder cases. My office, we do them as drug trafficking cases, but we get to the same place. There's basically, there's higher penalties for these type of violations. And what I always want people to know is, because I get that question a lot about criminal intent. You've heard of criminal intent. Well, are you able to prosecute a drug dealer? Do they really intend on killing their victims? That's not what I have to prove as a federal prosecutor, and that's not what they have to prove in the state. What you have to prove is that the intent is that they knowingly distributed the drug. And if they knowingly distributed the drug dealer, if that drug killed the victim, that drug dealer is then responsible for the higher penalties. So, as you know, to use our language as lawyers, the criminal intent doesn't attach to the intending to kill somebody. It attaches to the knowing distribution of the drugs. And we've got another one of those trials coming up in Tampa. We've done, I think we're now over 45 of those prosecutions in my office, and we're going to continue to do those cases to hold accountable the drug dealers who are the people who are killing, the users in their cases. We also continue to do pill mill cases. We still see a number of unscrupulous medical professionals who are involved in distributing drugs outside the ordinary and usual course of medical practice. We look for red flags. So if you had a business back in the 2000s, I mean, some of you might have had a business that was next door to a pill mill. And how did you know? Well, because your parking lot was covered with people who were just waiting there all day for appointments. Appointments that would not actually involve any actual medical work or examination, but were just really the payment of money in return for getting the prescriptions. We've had cases where, we had a doctor who was trading sexual favors in exchange for prescriptions. We've had doctors writing prescriptions in their house, in their parking lot. And so we will continue to do those cases because a lot of times those pill mill cases feed the addiction, which often leads to someone making a fatal choice about the drugs that they end up getting. So as you can, I think, hopefully hear in what I say, this is a top priority of not just my office in the United States Department of Justice. It's a top priority of myself personally. There's very few times where I talk to a group like this where I don't talk to someone afterwards who hasn't had a friend or a loved one, who's been killed by this. And what I want them to know is my office, we're going to do everything we can, working with our law enforcement partners. We also do community engagement work, and through the department, they have grants to help with treatment and prevention. We as the United States Department of Justice, we are going to do everything we can to disrupt that global fentanyl supply chain so we can do what we can to protect the people of this community. So I'm your United States Attorney. It's a real honor to get a chance to be here today. And one of the reasons I like to demystify my office a little bit. Usually people are like, who are you and what do you do? And sometimes that mystery is good, but I want you to know who we are and some of the work we do. And I hope if there's ever anything I can do to help you, I hope you will take it upon yourself to reach out to me. So there's only one Roger Handberg who's a lawyer in Florida, so I'm not that hard to find. Now, my dad and I, we share, I was named after him. He's a professor at the University of Central Florida. So if you Google us and you see that someone said something interesting, it is not me, it is him. I'm a lawyer, and so I've been trained to not say anything interesting. But well, come on, that was mean. That was mean. Now I'm getting applause for that. So let me get this straight. You guys don't applaud when I talk about the great work of the Sheriff's Office and Police Department, but you'll applaud for lawyers being, all right, tough crowd. But I hope you will reach out to me because, I am your United States Attorney, and it's an honor to get a chance to serve you. And if there's ever anything I can do, I hope you will give me that opportunity to serve you the best way I know how. So I can see out of the corner of my eye, I can see my handler is about to take me off. But before that happens, does anyone have any questions? I'd be happy to try to answer your questions. Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit about the kind of programs you're trying to put in?
All right, so because this is being recorded, I was told I need to repeat the question. So what I told them I was going to do was I was going to say the question I want to answer as opposed to the question I was asked. So the question was, how are you able to accomplish all of this amazing work? No, it was a question about treatment programs and prevention and some of the work that we do there. So one of the things my office I think has always done well is we have dedicated people, actually they're in our Tampa office, who do community outreach and engagement. And they do a couple things. One of the things the Department of Justice does that most people don't know is they do get the ability to award grants. Now, I don't personally, I'm not involved in that process in terms of handing out the money for those grants, but what they're looking for in those grants through the Bureau of Justice Assistance and the other programs is they try to find best practices. And so what we're all looking for, and what I can assure you is all of us are in law enforcement, we're trying to find things that work. And I will say one of the things I've always been impressed with is over the 21 years that I've done this is just how willing I am to see our law enforcement partners. They want what works. And if it's a treatment program that can keep people from doing that to begin with, that's wonderful, because, the more we can deal with it that way, the better. And then some of my community outreach and engagement folks will also work directly with some of those treatment providers so that we can be a voice in that process as well in terms of just interacting with members of our community. Because what I want the community to know from my prosecutors and from me is we care. We're really, if someone needs help, we want to try to find a way to get them that help. But the department's got a number of wonderful grant opportunities that they've been pursuing. Yes, sir.
Shift gears just a second. Are y'all starting to see or work on anything?
So the question was about Delta 8 gummies and some of the kids in the middle school. And we haven't had any of those cases yet that I can talk about. I can assure you anytime we see those sort of trends, it's top of mind. So I'm in the public safety business. And so one of the things, I've told my office we're going to do is when we have an opportunity to intervene to save lives and to protect the community, we're going to do it. But other than anecdotally, no. Yes, sir.
I want to say,
So the question was, you've done amazing work, I've enjoyed the partnership we had when I was an assistant state attorney, and the rest of it, I don't think I heard a lot of it. But no, it's always a fair question. Here's what I can tell you on fentanyl. So I was just flipping to just some of the overdose statistics in Florida. This is not a 2021 problem. It's not a 2022 problem. It's not a 2023 problem. When you look at the increases that have happened, double-digit increases, you don't go up almost 5,000% in a day. The first time we topped 5,000 people, well, let's do this. We topped 1,000 deaths in 2016. We topped 2,000 deaths in 2018. We topped 3,000 deaths in 2019. We topped 5,000 deaths in 2020. And then they've gone up to where they are now at 5,791. And let me say this, we only have data right now through 2021. I'm hoping when we get the 2022 data released, we'll maybe see some of the benefits or see some of the impacts of some of this work. But I guess I would start by saying, I feel like during that entire period of time that there's been good work being done. But I don't feel like it's a problem that is limited to this time and this place. This is a problem that we've been dealing with for some time. And what has made it especially challenging is, to go back to the example of the pill mill cases. We started doing the enforcement. We had the PDMP and the legislature and others started doing other things, and you saw more of a decrease. And that's what we're looking for. That's what I want to see when the 2022 data comes out, because that's really my best barometer on things like that in terms of whether what we're doing is having, and it's not just us. Obviously, there's a lot of people working on this, but I'm hoping we'll see some good news on that. But I don't want anyone thinking this is something that just that just happened recently. This has been a problem that's been building for some time. Yes, sir.
Well, is there a problem that is existing or that's building?
Okay, so I think the question is are the new generation of law enforcement, do they have a sort of a worse attitude than the others? I'll just give you sort of my personal perspective on it, which is no. I guess part of what I try to do is I don't try to think that, you sometimes the way you remember things like, oh, I remember when I started 20 years ago, everything was great. All the agents were great. And most of them are great. And they have so much training they go through. We don't really see, those issues. I mean, if you think about what someone does when they decide they want to be a deputy sheriff or a police officer, I mean, they have so many opportunities to do everything, anything they want probably, and they choose public service. And so at least my experience is I've been to a number of these swearing-ins where we have the new officers and deputies. It's rather inspirational because you have people who could probably make a lot more money doing something else, but they said, you know what, this is what I want to do for my community. And so I'm not going to say that there's not ever, a lot of these are big agencies. I'm not saying everyone there is always, happy. But I just say from my perspective, I don't see an overall problem like that in the communities that I serve. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So the question was in terms of what fentanyl is mixed with, what are sort of the trends we see in terms of what it's mixed with. I probably, if I had to just do it based on my memory of the cases that I've seen us do, I would probably say it's cocaine. We still have a lot of cocaine. So we have different organizations that prioritize, what the cases are, and opioids are at the top, and then but cocaine is up there as well. So we definitely see a lot of cocaine. But we also, like the press conference I did recently, they were concerned that some of the cocaine had fentanyl in it. We didn't have the toxicology or the results of that to know. But yeah, that's just an anecdotal example. Yes, sir. For the record, this is the person who doesn't like lawyers. So I think this is going to be a hostile question.
This is the last question. I'm not going to disagree with you unless I need one.
Yeah. So right now we have we have a new lawyer starting next week. So we're going to have over 140 lawyers spread across the 5 offices. So when I started as U.S. Attorney, we had about 113. So our size of our office has increased, and so one of the things we got an additional allocation from the Justice Department for additional prosecutors because of the work that's being done by the office, but also to reflect the needs of the community. And so, one of the things I've been working with my office on is just making sure we take advantage of those resources to serve every part of the communities. And so that's what I was talking with your chief of police about today was. Partnering with them on some violent crime initiatives. And we already talked with the sheriff's office about doing similar work, which we do, but also just kind of taking it up a level because now that I've got additional people, one of the things I want to do is I want to have them directly serving the people of this community here in Bradenton and here in Manatee County. So, our resources have gone up. You didn't put me in your book. This is the last. I'm joking. Yes, sir.
You are in the book, but not this book. You're in Lawyers and Legends of Manatee County, 2nd edition, that'll be published this year.
Hey, all right.
As they would say, touche.
Hang on right here for a second. All right. As a tradition with Bradenton and Kiwanis, thank you for speaking today.
Thank you.
This is our golden ruler coveted to measure your future success. Thank you very much. All right. right, real quick, a reminder again, if you're planning on coming next Tuesday, please sign up on that little piece of paper on your table. We'll collect those afterwards. Also, this weekend is the Drive On LPGA Championship at the Bradenton Country Club. Our club is sponsoring an event for girls this coming up Sunday. So if you do attend the event, there's going to be a great thing that we sponsor that's going to have the LPGA pros interacting with girls from the Pace Center. And
I've got tickets if people see me.
And John Tucker's got tickets if you'd like to go to the event. And so thank you very much. And anybody else have anything else for the good of the order? All right, we're adjourned. Thanks.